Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. A slightly different video format for this one. It's just going to be me talking and telling you a little tale of my own misfortune and general idiocy. And what this actually involves is a product called Seafoam. Now, Seafoam is a fuel additive, and I've used it in the past. I've used it in previous motorcycles that I've owned, most notably the Yamaha Phaser that I was having issues with the carbs. I put some Seafoam in the tank and it completely cleared out any issues I was having with it, and it ran as good as new after like rough starting and just feeling a bit bogged down. I did some research. I found this stuff called Seafoam, which for all intents and purposes is like a sort of a step above things like Red X that you might see in the supermarket. It's as I say, it's a fuel additive. You put it in your tank, and it claims to clear out any blockages in fuel jets, in carburetors, and just generally clean out the engine of any carbon deposits and that kind of thing. You can even put it in your oil, apparently, if you want to try to clean out the sort of the oil system in an engine, be it a bike, a car. Apparently, you can use it in boats. That's where the name comes from. Apparently, it was derived from a concoction that the manufacturer first created for outboard motors for boats. So it's got a lot of history, and a lot of people swear by it. And I too have used it in the past, and it's worked wonders with previous bikes that I've had. However, I just want to tell you a little story about my again, not really misfortune. It's my own fault. It's my own. I caused this. It's not the fault of Seafoam. But I just wanted to give a cautionary tale for anybody who might be looking at using Seafoam if you're having an issue with your motorcycle. This is predominantly about motorcycles because that's really all I use as a method of transport. I do have access to a car, but it's a fairly new Fiat 500, so it doesn't need Seafoam in it. But yeah, because one of my bikes, a ZZR 1100, is from 1997, it does have carburetors. And even though the previous owner cleaned out the carbs and rebuilt the bike, it was basically a nuts and bolt rebuild, I thought to myself, oh, I'll get some Seafoam because I always like to keep my vehicles, my bikes in as good condition as possible. So I'm forever doing things like this, topping up things or wanting to improve them. I thought I'll get some Seafoam. I'll chuck some of that in. It can't hurt if it's it's not running particularly badly, but this may make it even run even better. So what I did was I ordered some Seafoam off Amazon. It turned up, and immediately I just went and I put pretty much the entire bottle into my tank, into my ZZR 1100 tank. I'd say about 3/4 of the bottle. It's a 16-ounce bottle. If you can convert that into sterling, then you're a better person than I am. But the bottle is about a litre, I think. And so I put about 3/4 of this bottle into my tank, and the remainder into my Royal Enfield, just to chuck some in that, just to give that a bit of a clean out, even though it, again, probably doesn't need it. The thing that I didn't realize was that there is such a thing as putting too much Seafoam in to an engine. And when you learn that the ZZR 1100 only had about 1/4 of a tank of petrol in it, then you can see why things kind of went a little bit awry after I did that. Poured the Seafoam in, left it for a few days. Then I decided that I needed to use it to get to work the following week, and tried to get it to take it to the petrol station to put some petrol in it. And I didn't even put two and two together until several days later, and a lot of drama, which I will explain in a second. But when I got the bike out to go and put some petrol in it on that Sunday, because I needed to use it on the Monday to go to work, it simply would not start. And I didn't understand why. I didn't even connect the dots that it might have had something to do with the amount of Seafoam I'd put into the tank with such a small amount of petrol already in the tank. So the Seafoam had obviously mixed up with a little bit of petrol that was in there, gone down into the carbs. And then when I was trying to fire the bike up, it was having none of it. I did eventually get it started, but it ran really badly. It sounded like a tractor. And this obviously set alarm bells off for me. I was like, what the hell is happening here? This is it up until now, it's run perfectly, absolutely flawlessly. And now suddenly it's just decided that it doesn't want to start and it's going to run like a tractor. Anyway, I managed to finally start it. I got it to the petrol station. I put 20 quid's worth in, so it's near enough a full tank, but not quite. It was about um, 5/6. Is that right? Is that an actual thing? It wasn't full basically. I put 20 quid's worth in and it wasn't full, but it was near as damn it. Anyway, rode off I went, had a ride, came back home, put it to bed. Next morning, again, had issues starting the bike. It would not start, even with the additional petrol in the tank. Again, I didn't connect the dots at the time. I just assumed that something was wrong with the bike, so I was messing around with the choke and the idle screw on the carbs. Eventually got it to start. Off I went to work, parked up, went into work, mentioned somebody at work that I had issues with the bike starting because I was about 5 minutes late to work, and just thought nothing else of it. That evening, when I went to get back on the bike to come home, I had the same issue. I was basically sat on the bike trying to start it. And, people walking past, looking at me, somebody on a scooter came up asking if I was all right. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. It's just, for some reason, it just will not start. It would not start. And then when it did start, it would tick over really with like no power. And then as I tried to pull away, it would just die. And at that point, I realized something was wrong. And I try as I might, I was sat there for about 10 minutes trying to get the bike to start. Eventually, I got it started and I just left it idling really high with the choke on for about 5 minutes while, again, people walking past looking like, why is there a bike there, like revving really high. And eventually I managed to get it to let me set off. And then I got home, but it was very much touch and go. I had to keep the throttle open when I was sat at traffic lights. Otherwise, if I just let the throttle off and tried to get the bike to idle, it just wouldn't. It would die. And the last thing you want on any bike, but most of all on a massive ZZR 1100, which weighs a ton and is a big old lump, you don't want to stall in the middle of traffic at rush hour and then try and push it to the side of the road with like impatient drivers behind you and all that kind of stuff, and in the dark and in the rain. Not a good idea, not a good combination. Anyway, managed to get the bike home. Rode like a demon just to get it back with the revs high, not letting it idle at all. Got it back in the garage and just left it. And I was racking my brain. I was like, what is going on here? What's gone on? I don't understand this. I put some seafoam in it. There's a clue. I've put some more petrol in it. I just don't know what's going on. I thought it might be the battery. I thought there might be something wrong with the carbs. I even contacted the previous owner and asked if he had any advice on what this could be. Has he ever heard anything like this? And he was like, well, not really, because ZZRs they're well known for starting well and being really reliable. So I don't really know what it could be. It could be anything. You might need to drain the carbs. The idle screw might need adjusting. So again, thanks to him for that advice. But it was only maybe a day later that it dawned on me that all these issues had started after I put that seafoam in. So I started to Google, can you put too much seafoam in? Put seafoam in my bike and now it won't run properly. And then up popped all these forum threads from various different sources about, people asking whether or not the bike is now destroyed because they put too much seafoam in it and it won't start. And all of the issues that people were describing going back, years and years, to 2009, all these old forums, which are no longer like these old necro threads, people basically describing what had happened to my ZZR after I put seafoam in it. And I've kind of slowly deduced that what I did was I put far too much seafoam into the bike. Now, today I got the bike started eventually. Again, still having issues with it. The thing is, once it warms up and it starts it's in the groove essentially. It's fine. It will run. Even though the revs are, you have to keep the revs high to keep it from stopping. After a while, it settles down and it's fine. Once it's warmed up, it's fine. And what I can gather is that if the concentration of seafoam to fuel is too high, then the engine just does not like it, regardless of what bike it is. And the general consensus is that there are two consensi. There are two remedies to this problem. The first one is to basically drain the tank and put fresh fuel in, and just get rid of that fuel somehow, or maybe add it in slowly to just reuse it. The second one is to basically use the bike as much as you can, and just basically get that mix through the bike until it's basically empty, and then fill the tank up again with fresh fuel. And a lot of people have said that that's what, on these forums, a lot of people have said that's what they did, and the bike ran flawlessly again. So that's basically the stage I'm at now. I've basically been riding around aimlessly, because the tank's so big and it had so much fuel in it. It's I was out there for a couple of hours today, just trying to get just to use fuel, just riding around the same circuit over and over again, going up and down the A roads and a little bit of motorway, just to use fuel to get it out of the system. So I'm still about a quarter of a tank left of this mix, and it's going to be another case of trying to get the bike started with this horrible concoction of seafoam and fuel in the bike, and then getting it out and warming it up and getting it ridden again, so I can just burn more fuel. Obviously not great for the environment, but I want to get it to a point where it's virtually empty before I put fuel in, so it can just basically get that stuff out of it. So the moral of the story, I suppose, in a long-winded and roundabout kind of way, is don't do what I did. Don't be me. When you put seafoam in your fuel tank, it's a great product. It does work, but basically just be mindful of how much you put in. Don't dump the entire bottle in like I did, or near as damn it, because that will only end in one thing. Your bike won't start. It will have no power, and you won't even be able to pull off from a standstill. So if this does happen after you've put seafoam in your engine, don't panic. It's just that you've put too much in. So that was just a little story from me, and hopefully I'll be able to update in the future with a happy ending, that it was just the fact that me, being an idiot, put too much seafoam into the ZZR, and it's all fine again. Well, thank you for listening if you got this far. And hope you enjoyed the little story of my stupidity. Thank you.